Hey guys, welcome back to the weekly episode 43, I believe. We had a hiatus last week, so I spent time chatting with Mr. Juan Bagnell on Pocket Now for like 2 hours.
It
Midnight.
was a pretty long and rambling podcast, but we appreciate your participation in joining us on a little holiday chat.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun one. And of course, Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1. How's it going, man?
What's going on?
All right, let's kick the show off, guys.
Let's do this.
Yes, we don't have a uselesses of the week, so if there's one, please submit it. But right now, there's none. But let's start off with the first big news of the week. Monday, DirecTV announced DirecTV Now, which is their own streaming service, which you can get on Android devices, iOS devices, Apple TV. No Roku yet till next year, and you can also get it on the Lay TV and Vizio TVs. The app will come in about a week and a half on those two TV sets. So DirecTV's streaming service pricing starts at $35, goes up to $70. Currently, their $60 plan, which gives you 100 channels, is priced at $35. And I spoke to AT&T DirecTV reps, and they said if you get that plan, even if the price change, when the price changes to 60, you're grandfathered at $35.
Nice.
So even if there's a price increase, what they basically said, if there's a price increases on all their plans by $10, your price should be increased by 10 from the 35, not 60. So if you want to jump in and get it, it's a good time too. So the first thing I want to ask you guys, I know we talked about this earlier. You haven't actually tried the app, but what do you think about AT&T's announcement of DirecTV Now? And I can talk more about the application itself. I'll start off with you, Warren.
It's interesting. They're sort of jumping in this boat of the whole appifying their TV content, getting away from the traditional methods of getting things, and now going with the times, which is people want an app and just have access over the internet to whatever stations or channels that they want to watch, and they want it for a much fairer price than what you usually pay for. So it's interesting that they're getting ahead, especially since you do have some other competitors such as Comcast and those that have kind of dibbled their way into this sort of space as well too. And you have the Netflixes of the world, the HBO Go's of the world, their own separate networks, but they're doing great numbers by just being one single channel on its own. So it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways that they're headed in this route, and it will also expand the areas in which DirecTV normally couldn't get to. Yeah. It's hard for them to get into a city necessarily to get satellite television within a city area, but now that allows them to not only get into the city but into the country areas all around. You just have to have an internet connection, and there you go. So I think it's pretty cool.
Juan?
Yeah, well, and I mean, especially in the way that this is launching, this is an excellent positioning for AT&T, because I mean, what we've been seeing, I think AT&T has been doing a better job of leveraging media relationships. We've been maybe a little more frustrated with, say, how like Verizon has been doing business. Like over at Pocket Now, we were really trying to leverage Vessel, the other video streaming service that was trying to monetize video streams like YouTube. Mm-hmm. And Verizon went in, bought it out because they needed their own sort of video streaming platform, and then shut the whole thing down. So it's like all that work that we put into building into Vessel was just like they pulled the plug on us. So, I mean, if you're going to go about doing media buys like that, we're going to get really frustrated. But I think the way that AT&T is positioning DirecTV on their network, that makes a lot more sense from the corporate perspective. Obviously, you guys know how twitchy I get about the political ramifications of these things. So
I'm going to get into that in a second.
I mean, I think I'm starting to sound like a broken record player on a lot of this stuff, but I do have some concerns over AT&T positioning their own products, over how streaming will work on other products. And I think a lot of people out there are sharing that sentiment, but I think we're also running into a corporate climate politically over the next couple of years where people like me probably won't be listened to. So I don't know how prescient my concerns are going to be if more and more technology companies and media companies are going to join forces like that.
Yeah. So before I get into the political side of the conversation, I will say that in terms of the app, AT&T has done a fantastic job with this application. I use the Comcast app, and that needs more work. You know, in just in comparison, that's, you know, even Sling, which has been out for about a year and a half, the AT&T app is very robust, and it's easy if you have like the late TVs or any TV that's that has Chromecast capabilities or casting capabilities. It's easy to cast over, and you know, the functionality you get with the application is very smooth. Now, my problem with this is that catch-22, because it's a window that T-Mobile has opened. So right now, as an AT&T customer, this does not count to your data whatsoever. Done.
Yeah.
You know, this is the.
But what are they calling? Is it what they're calling, like zero rate or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Which means that you're being penalized as an AT&T user for streaming YouTube videos now. That's what it means as an AT&T subscriber, mobile subscriber, is that, yes, I'm enjoying the service, but any other service I use, YouTube, Netflix, we talk about it because now you can download. I've been penalized for that. And now the other question is, will T-Mobile add this service to binge on?
Yeah.
You know, that's the question here. Because the way I look at the service, my review's not out yet, but I think a lot of people will definitely like it, because AT&T has least and DirecTV has made the app very accessible, easy to use, easy to set up, and it's easy to find whatever show you want to find. I mean, there's some networks that are just not there yet, but they've got more channel packages at a lower price. Plus, adding HBO and Cinemax is $5. So you've got that benefit there. But when you're now on a different carrier, when you're on Sprint, when you're on T-Mobile, when you're on Verizon, and it counts against your cap, you know, that means there's a shortcoming. It's AT&T's trying to lower you over to get AT&T mobile service. And T-Mobile, on that other hand, will T-Mobile stick to its claims that they will keep adding services? And if they don't add something like this, then that means, of course, their system is rigged.
Isn't one of the things that they said was, it was basically kind of as people voted interest in services on their network that they wanted.
That was on music streaming, which worked well, because they actually, when they started off with saying, here's what we started, here's a survey, let us know what you want.
Right.
With binge on, they didn't do that, because of course the data caps are two different things for streaming music and streaming video. So they went with this selective process of saying, we'll keep adding companies as we move along. So when people started complaining and saying there's no YouTube, there's no this, that we saw it kind of move a little bit faster. But this one, I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, this is a little different in that regards, that T-Mobile was picking winners and losers, but T-Mobile didn't have any skin in the game.
Yeah.
It's not like T-Mobile had their own video streaming service or their own audio streaming service. They were just picking which other third-party services would be allowed to stream for free. And I still feel like that was stepping on net neutrality's toes. You know, if you can't guarantee that the stream is going to work on any platform, or from any platform, then again, you're sort of prioritizing some data for your customers over others. And I think that's also why there were those big sort of ugly missteps in how they were communicating the video streaming side. You know, like you could only stream like a 160 pixel by 160 pixel square unless you pay us more, you know, like that kind of stuff. That's why I think we got so cranky about T-Mobile. This DirecTV thing has the potential to be maybe a little bit nastier in that, you know, AT&T owns DirecTV and they are offering a first party solution, which isn't rated for customers the same way. And it's the same way that I think we're seeing sort of the chilling effect of data caps on home cable connections and home data connections, where you can watch all of the video on demand that you want, but man, if you watch too much Netflix, your bill's going to go up. And that kind of stuff makes me very apprehensive about the future of, you know, metered connections.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I am going to switch topics. Instead of going to Netflix, I'm moving to the FCC accusing AT&T and Verizon of violating net neutrality rulings. And this comes from the zero rating moves that both companies have stated. And this is a letter from Robert W. Quinn Jr. Says that they're concerned that AT&T's sponsored data program denies unqualified third parties the same ability to compete over AT&T's network on reasonable terms. And this is specifically pointed out DirecTV Now, which just came out. Basically, he's saying, using the company's own example against it, FCC said that a video provider would have to pay $16 a month for zero-rated services when data users do not count against the monthly allotment. Should a customer bump up to 30 minutes of use a day, the provider would have to pay 47. So now we're seeing some of the background here, how that affects. And you're right, this, I think, is going to be a much nastier play. But in our upcoming political climate, I don't think it's going to change.
Well, I don't think, I think it will change, unfortunately. I think it's going to change.
No, for the better. I was going to for worse, yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of those things. I feel like we're going to see 4 years of lobster potting. For example, you know, maybe one of the uselessnesses of the week that we could have pointed to was this this UK crackdown on certain types of porn, right? Now, why is it that we see a push for that kind of nanny state monitoring? And I feel it's because they can get away with pushing some of these.
You said certain types of porn, and Sam just jumped in.
I have conjured. Someone talking about porn?
Yeah.
Oh, you said porn? Oh, Lord, I'm here. I am so here.
Sam appears with his glasses and a grandma sweater.
But
Actually,
why
I could go. It's Sam.
So I mean, this is following on the heels of like recent initiatives where like in Australia, if you have softcore porn and your actors have sort of the wrong look for their genitalia, then that porn can be banned. I mean, we see these initiatives pop up after major political issues have already run the gamut and have exhausted the populace. So post Brexit vote, we see instantly in the UK a push for a lot more invasive monitoring and security initiatives, especially with their CCTV and their video platforms. And we see them trying to police the internet for the kind of content that's distributed over their networks. I think we're going to see a lot of the same stuff happen here. After a really brutal election campaign, once Trump is in office and we're all hysterical over all of the weird things that he tweets, we're going to see these little pushes into the territory that we fought for, territory like net neutrality. And it's not going to be all in one fell swoop, but you're just like, oh, the FCC is gone tomorrow. Like, I don't think he can do that. But maybe there's like a little funding cut here, or maybe there's a little personnel change there. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, we have a proper tiered internet. And once that happens, it's going to be ridiculously difficult, nearly impossible to get all that stuff back. It's just like any other contract or negotiation. Once you cede ground, once you give up that territory, it is nigh impossible to properly win that territory back because of the way that regulations in this country are written.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the article here again from Engadget, it says the cost alone will represent 46% to 134% of DirecTV Now's 35 retail price. Wilkin elaborates. The worry here is that more people start using more data-hungry mobile services. That is going to make it harder and harder for third-party providers to compete against the likes of DirecTV on AT&T. By contrast, AT&T incurs no comparable costs to offer its own DirecTV Now service on a zero-rated basis. So, I mean, you know, as much as some of us liked what T-Mobile was doing, started on from Binge On, they created this climate. They were the ones who gave AT&T that.
You know, I don't want to lay all the blame on.
I will. I will.
No. Well. I mean, just in sort of explaining why we saw every single carrier trying to shoehorn some kind. If you don't, I mean, you remember like AT&T was flirting with sponsored data. You know,
yes,
so like
okay,
companies would pay them, and AT&T did that before T-Mobile did their Binge On audio streaming service. And I know Verizon has always been trying to play with some kind of Verizon TV or Verizon Video or something.
That also mentions Verizon's Go 90. That's a whole. This thing is, the link is there for you guys to check out.
Well, I mean, but I mean, like even since before smartphones, remember when we just had flip phones, and once we went to 3G CDMA, Verizon has always been trying some kind of direct-to-consumer video distribution platform. So I just feel like T-Mobile was the most successful at sidestepping net neutrality in a way that was potentially beneficial to consumers in the short term, but set a precedent that would maybe potentially harm consumers in the long term.
Yeah. Sam, any thoughts?
Oh well, it's inevitable, right? The thing is, you can't make a law, or you can't try to make a law that basically says, oh, it's okay if one company does this, but not the other company. With T-Mobile, the SEC should have come straight out and said, this is not allowed. This kind of nitpicking on who gets to go through your, who gets a faster lane on your service is not allowed. The SEC did not do that. Now we have AT&T and Verizon doing this, and if you didn't tell T-Mobile that this was against the law, you can't tell AT&T and and Verizon that this is against the law, because at the end of the day, everyone needs to have a level playing field. So this is why, when it comes to net neutrality laws, people need to be a little bit more proactive. It should be a consumer-driven argument. Yes, it benefits you that T-Mobile says they're no longer going to charge for XYZ service to get to you on your T-Mobile device, but you should also think about the consequences. Now, what about those services that other people might like, that T-Mobile now says has to pay extra to get through, to get you the 3G speeds that that they want? So it's one of those things where, yes, it benefits a few, but overall it ends up making it harder for everyone to play fair in the marketplace. You basically killing out smaller manufacturers by making sure that your service gets gets priority. And AT&T might not set it up that way, but the fact that AT&T doesn't charge anything extra to itself to have faster service inadvertently means that everyone else gets to pay more to get faster service on AT&T. And that's just the way it works. That's net neutrality for you guys. If one person gets exempt, everyone gets exempt.
Anything, Warren, before we move on to something a little bit more happy, like downloading Netflix?
It's going to get very interesting when these companies make this push into consumer response back, and what that will be, because consumers could always respond with just a resounding no, and I'm not going to pay for it, and then do other things in other ways. And it'd be interesting to see how far they push. I don't think these companies are that dumb to just try to force things over.
Well, I just think they've got a little bit of leverage in that. If we're talking about a company like AT&T, we're talking about a company like Verizon, there's very little competition.
Yeah, I mean, and just to your point of competition, if you think about it, AT&T has laid the roadmap for saying, causing two things. Number one, we own DirecTV. We can give you cable service technically wherever you are. If you are on AT&T, that doesn't count to your data cap. And very soon they will own Time Warner. Oh, sorry, Warner Brothers, sorry. So you're getting, that's more content that they push, which I'm guarantee you Disney's going to buy Sprint or T-Mobile if that happens. They will look at also having a way to deliver their content out without being capped by data.
Yeah, that's actually the interesting flip side of this, is we've been watching a lot of these, the companies that control the pipes, trying to buy up the media that goes on those pipes. And we've been waiting for the flip side. So when a company who makes the content controls the pipes, will we see the same type of business practice?
Yeah.
Or will we see them try and do something innovative? Like if a Google bought Sprint, how would that be different than how they've been managing Project Fi? But if a Disney buys Sprint, we can be damn sure that that's going to be different than how they run than how Google runs Project Fi.
I think it's going to be, the funny thing is they're going to compete against each other so much, against these data caps, and advertise against these so much, to the point where eventually we're going to go back to unlimited data again. It's just going to circle itself around, because they're too stupid to not manage it properly. So capitalism will just work itself out in a way that eventually everybody will go, all right, man, no, screw it, let's just make it unlimited, because that's the only way we can compete. And then that's pretty much how I think it's going to end up. It's going to come full around that way, because in the end of the day, consumers can always speak by just not watching too, which is not uncommon either. Like it's not like it's not like these shows. It's not like these shows. It's not like the shows today are doing the great ratings that they were doing some 10 years ago when all these execs were like the bee's knees and the best in the world, and they shit didn't stick and they couldn't put on a show that was wrong. So there's a reason why they don't really talk about Nielsen ratings anymore.
No.
There is.
Well, speaking of ratings and enjoying shows on the move, Netflix gave us a Christmas gift by giving you the ability to download your shows now on Netflix. Now, I'm not sure. Is that limited to just Netflix-owned shows, or is just anything on Netflix?
It's not anything on Netflix,
Okay,
but there are a ton of properties that have already engaged in the licensing appropriate. So I mean, it's silly stuff like some of my daughter's favorite little sing-along songs. We were really nervous about flying out to the East Coast for the holidays, and now we're a little less nervous because we can keep her well stocked on Mother Goose Club. Like stuff like that seems to have worked out, where there's a significant chunk, not a majority, but a significant chunk of the catalog that you can now cache and play local.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure now it's Netflix and Go. I mean, there's still Netflix and Chill, but you can do both. You can do both, which is also a good thing. All right, moving on from Netflix, some more acquisition rumors. It looks like Fitbit is looking to acquire Pebble. I know you guys are talking about. I'll cover some of that. And what's interesting about this is also, if you look at some of the estimates of what they're looking to acquire Pebble for, it's about 40 million, even though the valuation of the company 3 years ago was about 700. This is going to be a stock reality for a lot of companies, especially a lot of these tech companies that had high valuations that just don't sell at the right time, or at least do something at the right time.
Snapchat.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about it. I mean, I do like Fitbit buying Pebble. I think Fitbit is just a more sensible company than Pebble themselves. Pebble has some really great ideas, but I like, we've talked about this before, Juan. I don't like them going to Kickstarter every single time.
Oh no, I agree with you there. Yeah, this last Pebble launch was certainly one of the more conflicting. I'm wearing my time right now is while we're doing the show.
Yeah. Before you continue, I'm going to put this question to the two different companies on this chat. Juan, what do you feel about Pebble losing? It might lose its way going to Fitbit. And Sam, as of course our Fitbit guy, what do you think about Fitbit buying Pebble and how that will add to its own complementary product?
Actually, if you don't mind, Sam, why don't you go first? Because I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this, because you know more about fitness trackers than I do.
Is my audio working?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. All right. Basically, I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I think Pebble tried to do something different. It was more of a smartwatch than it was a fitness tracker. But Fitbit is more of a fitness tracker than it is a smartwatch. So marrying both of them is actually a very, very good idea. My question would really be how much of Pebble is remained, or how much of Pebble's identity remains after a Fitbit purchase, and I don't think there's going to be that much of Pebble left. I think what's really going to happen is Fitbit's going to take a lot of IP, probably going to take the the user base, but at the end of the day, I don't see much of Pebble existing after this. So it's a smart buy in a market where that is constantly shrinking because the sales of smartwatches are shrinking. That they haven't been that great. Fitbit has incentive to try to break more into the smartwatch space rather than just the fitness band space. So we will see how. I think we'll see how it goes. But I think the share price took a little bit of a bump from the news. So I guess their consumers or their investors think that's a good idea. But we'll see how this plays out in the next few months if they actually go through with the purchase. But I think it's a good thing. I think Fitbit is making the right choice.
Juan?
So, I mean, I completely agree with that, Sam. And everything that I've seen would indicate that this is definitely going to be a good move for Fitbit. But what I'm concerned as a Pebble fan is it seems like, well, first of all, we've just gotten terrible information from these two companies. We've gotten a tweet with someone shrugging and no official word as to what the heck is going on with Pebble.
Who sent it? Oh, Fitbit sent the tweet of someone shrugging.
Yeah, but I mean, we need more information than that.
Okay.
when two brands are looking to merge, what is happening, and whether or not one brand will actually continue to exist after this buyout happens. Right now, all of the rumors are pointing to Fitbit buying out Pebble and gutting the company for the IP. We understand that's the cost of doing business, but what does that mean for the actual wonderful software support that I've gotten on my time? What does that mean for my time to pre-order? Should I cancel that? Is this now a vaporware product? I don't want to buy this watch if it's released, shipped, and then the team responsible for supporting it and providing maintenance updates is gutted. And that to me is the most frustrating aspect of talking about this is sort of what is the relationship and what is the responsibility from this company buying out another company to support the products that people have already invested time and money into. So ultimately, yes, I think people who are fans of the Fitbit brand, I think you might be on the lookout for some really cool stuff. But those of us who were Pebble devotees, this is starting to feel really dire, or this is starting to feel really dour. And that's not a great place to be in when we're talking about tech that we like.
Warren, anything you want to add?
Yeah, neither of them are band 3, so I don't care.
Okay, all right. Speaking of more smartwatches, Moto says no Moto 360 anytime soon. That kind of points to Sam's, statement of smartwatch sailings being smaller, and also to the point of what is Lenovo doing with Moto. We've heard that they are going to be doing all the devices come next year. That's some of the rumors floating around, that there will be no more Lenovo branded smartphones. It will just be Moto line. But what do you think? How do you think this statement plays with Motorola in general? Because the Moto 360 was one that a lot of people liked and was hoping for, better improvements with the second one. What do you guys think? Well, okay,
we just didn't want to all start talking.
Everyone's quiet there. It's like,
Okay, so this has been I've just been sort of peeking in and out in the live chat, and Kyle Ruggles, kind of sad since Pebble was the smartwatch, but he loves his new Zen Watch 3, and he's not surprised with Motorola. And I kind of have to say, I feel like I'm in the same boat. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised by these tech companies that ran in early to deliver smartwatches, only now to see a lot more headlines going, 1, to Apple, 2, to fitness trackers, and then 3, to traditional watch manufacturers that are starting to tinker with this stuff too. Yeah. Where for as much work and investment as Motorola has put into lifting up the smartwatch industry, that they're just as likely to be superseded by sort of a mediocre tech but fashion piece watch like a Fossil, So I could understand wanting to slow play this. I don't think tech companies have done a very good job of making the transition into lifestyle and fashion brands, and that's one of the main reasons someone might look at wearing something on their wrist.
Anyone else want to chime in? No, we can just move on.
Well, this proves one thing that I've been saying for a long time now, hasn't it?
Let's move on.
Smartwatches are what? What did I say about them?
They're foolish.
They are BS. They're useless notification things. They are complete BS.
Well,
I've always held to this, that they are the evolutionary step needed for us to start the conversation on peeling notifications and other services off of our phones. But that they were never going to be the product category that manufacturers have been treating them like. This was going to be a new thing. It's kind of like Bluetooth headsets. They were super spiky for a little bit, and then you don't really see people wearing them 24/7 like you used to. That was an evolution that we had to go through.
People also don't phone call people anymore either. So,
well, but Bluetooth headsets were an evolution we had to go through to start getting better Bluetooth headphones. right? I mean, you do see people walking around with Bluetooth headphones, and that's because there was a benefit to moving audio off of your phone wirelessly, and we can all appreciate that convenience. It's not audiophile grade, but it's really good now. So the same thing with notifications. It was just that first step to say, like, hey, you know what? I don't have to look at my phone every single fucking time it makes a beep or it makes a buzz. I can leave my phone in my pocket, and now we'll start working for better things that'll do that job. Like my car does a pretty good job of serving me notifications now. I don't even need to look at my watch. And eventually I'll have a pair of sunglasses that do an even better job of serving me just the little tidbits of information. But we had to go through smartwatches first. And right now, I still think the Pebble is the best notifications platform that's ever been created. Whether or not that's enough for someone to spend $100 on one is still dubious. But if you want to take that ride, that's the cost of doing business.
I mean, I guess, and in some ways I understand that. But if you're going to do notifications and things like that, don't do a poor job of doing that where you can barely see any of the text on the screen or get a half a message or get half of a notification or any of the other things on it. It didn't really fully flesh out, and I think in the most proper way that it should have. And in the fact that the target audience for this thing was completely off. The reality was people wanted fitness stuff. They wanted stuff that they can track data. People like taking their little data and tracking it along with them and then messing around with it. And that's what fitness devices do. This is why you see companies like the Fitbits of the world, the Pebbles of the world, and all those other places. They're not necessarily struggling in this space because they're struggling right now because they knew what to put out in terms of the focus and who they were targeting to begin with. They understood that. I think everybody else was like, all right, not only we're going to give you the fitness, we're going to give you everything else onto it as well too. We're going to do this and that, and we're going to charge you a $600-700 premium, or depending if you decide to get an Apple Watch, $18,000 premium, depending on what version you get, to essentially get the same things, and then constantly have to upgrade those things as well too, and not understanding that watches are timepieces that last for 10, 20, or generational, depending upon what type of watch that you get, versus something like a fitness band that lasts for 2 to 3 years, and you go and get the next fitness band with the more latest and greatest technology with it. They are two separate things, two different markets, and neither the twain should actually meet.
Actually, no, they're not two separate markets. See, that's the problem. They're not two separate markets. Basically, the feature sets should reside, the same feature sets should reside on both devices. It's just the features that you market. That's where the issue is. This is a marketing problem. This is not a feature problem.
Yeah, no, I disagree. Okay. I disagree.
Well, let me finish before you disagree. Let me finish before you disagree.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you have these devices and you're telling people that they can do all these amazing notification issues, because when you look at a smartwatch right now, in popular vernacular, a smartwatch is a notification platform, like Juan says. I mean, that's what a smartwatch is. But a fitness band is a measurement device for your life. It's what you use to basically measure how fit you were yesterday versus how fit you are today, how far you ran yesterday versus how far you ran today. And it can still do all the smartwatch functions. It can get notifications. It can take and drop calls. It can do all of that. The functionalities are the same. It's a marketing issue.
Okay, are you done?
We've told consumers that smartwatch work, but we haven't actually shown consumers why a smartwatch integrates into your life easily, like seamlessly.
Because a smartwatch can't do any of the things you even think it should do. Like Warren's point, the notification is chopped off to three letters. How am I going to actually know what I'm just saying in general?
I mean, not on a Pebble. And that's why.
Not on a Pebble, yes, but
or not on the Fitbit, the bigger Fitbit that they have. But
it's still
and everyone was complaining about the washed out screen on the Pebble. But I'll tell you, when I'm driving around,
not even on the what about the iWatch? The
Apple Watch,
the iWatch, the sports. It doesn't cut off that much.
It still has cut off notifications. It doesn't have It to me, it's not smart. It's just an extension of a fitness band. To me, a smartwatch needs to do more than just give me notifications.
And barely have that.
It does do more than that.
Yeah, but
that's exactly what I'm telling you.
It doesn't do any of those things well. It doesn't do any of those things well.
It does it very. You see,
Yeah, no, it does it very well. Does all
and
that,
this is
all
going
the
back.
stuff you say
This
well.
is going back to Sam's point in that we've advertised these things when smartwatches first came out. We were telling people that you were
Samsung told us going to give us the sun.
No, you were going to have your phone on your wrist, which was a terrible way to position this thing. But what does a watch do? A watch serves you at a glance pieces of information, namely the time. And if your watch is fancier, the time and the date. And if your watch is really fancy, maybe you also have a stopwatch. You know, it's about little pieces, little snippets of information that you glance and you get on with your day. And so we have a problem with the smartphone. We don't want to acknowledge it because our phone is an amazing computer, but it doesn't notify you very well. This Pavlovian response that we've created where people are crackberrying their way through their day, constantly picking up their phones and looking at the notifications that come in, is actually a problem. That is something we need to fix.
It's easily solved with an LED on top of it.
First step, just the first baby step.
No,
in
it is.
addressing that
But that's the
usage.
thing, though. I think consumers are like me. We don't want a smartwatch to just be a notification device.
Well, but that's just it. Is it's not.
Yeah.
Right now, I'll go
That's
through
exactly what we're saying.
looking on
You're
my
making
Pebble
my
that works
point.
really
No,
well.
I'm not making a point. I mean,
You are.
no.
Because
Your
a smartwatch
point-
is capable of so much more.
My Pebble
Yeah, but it
is
doesn't
currently
do
telling
any of
me
the
that it's
things
58
you
degrees
say
and
it
sunny.
does well.
And
My
I'm telling
Pebble
you,
does an
it
amazing
doesn't
job
do
of
any of
controlling
those
my
things well.
music, my
doesn't-
music when it's
What are
streaming
you
from my
talking
phone.
about?
It does not.
What do you have right now? What smartwatch do you have right now?
I don't use a
very
smartwatch.
easily
I
set
stopped using
alarms.
them. Remember, I
Okay,
stopped
so
using them a year
the
ago
voice to
because they were
text feature
useless.
when I'm replying to text messages is really
I love
killer
how
for my
Juan
watch.
is just stating everything.
Yeah, it's-
Stopwatch functionality, the timer. I actually use the timer a lot on my watch because I don't want to tie up what's going on my phone.
I know,
at the
bro.
same
It's
time.
so much easier because it's so stressful to reach into your pocket.
No,
It's not that it's so
unlock your
stressful.
phone.
See, you can sit there and
continue
try
this-
and you can be reductive and you can throw that as a straw man. I am
Yeah.
telling you that having something immediately on my wrist, which provides me a small piece of functionality like that, is a benefit. If you don't use it, that's fine.
Okay,
But
and
that's
it's
not
even-
to say that I don't get a benefit out of it. And that's I would never insult something that you like that. You know, so that's part of the problem when we're talking about someone sharing the way that I've customized a piece of technology that I use and why it does more than just serve notifications. That's the conversation that we're having. So it requires the user to go out there and actually do more than just, oh, I pulled it out of the box and I hit the Bluetooth and now it doesn't do everything I want it to do.
See,
I can make funny voices about other people's complaints too.
My problem,
but I don't.
My problem with the smartwatch is that I've actually enjoyed using smart bands this year, the ones I've reviewed. I like them because, like you said, the marketing for that makes sense because it does what you say it does well. To me, notifications on smartwatches I've used I just didn't like it. Number two,
notifications are such a small piece of what a smartwatch can do.
Okay, what else would you do with your smartwatch? Tell me.
Okay, let me start it off this way. Two-factor authentication. When I pick up my phone, there are two ways I can actually get into my phone. Wait, let me finish.
You did ask
there
him
two
what
ways.
he's doing with
There are two ways that I can actually basically get into my phone. One, I can use my fingerprint. But if I don't want to use my fingerprint, and if I'm at home, guess what? Bluetooth from my device actually communicates with my phone, and right off the bat, my phone opens up. If I leave my phone anywhere else, and let's say I haven't set up my fingerprints on it, once I walk away from that phone's locked. End of story. That's just the first thing.
It's a great reply to people who complain about rear-mounted fingerprint sensors. Yeah. Oh, how do you unlock your phone when it's lying on a table?
That's just a simple thing.
It opens up because of my watch.
I do that with my headphones. I wear my headphones.
Exactly, but a smartwatch, you take your headphones everywhere?
Yeah, I take headphones.
You take your headphones running with you? You take your headphones to meetings with you?
I take headphones.
You take your headphones to meetings with you?
Your headphones are on when you're in other situations with other people.
No, I said take my headphones with me all the time. I don't do.
And they're always on, and they're always
on,
connected.
Always go.
They're around my neck.
Connected.
Right here. See.
It's like, no, you can make what argument you want to make, but
no. But continue. You mentioned one. I said I agree, but I can do with other devices. It's not a singular purposeful thing that a smartwatch can do. You're telling me something I can do with anything Bluetooth. That's fine.
Okay, you can do it with anything Bluetooth. But I'm saying a smartwatch is unique in the fact that you're wearing it most of the time.
I hear you.
Unlike any other Bluetooth device.
I said, give me a second one.
Okay, a second one, basically fitness tracking. Most smartwatches,
but they don't do it as well as a fitness tracker. That's why I don't like them.
They do step counting very well. And that's something that a lot of people.
My Pebble actually does step tracking really, really well.
Yeah, a lot of people use that feature. People might not use the running exercise feature, but step counting, there are a bunch of office championships that are done by how far you've walked and what your cumulative steps for a month is. People do that. It's like
you can do that with your phone these days. And secondly, everybody be cheating with those damn office things. I've had that in my office as well too.
Warren, I can tell there's a story here. What happened to you, Warren? What happened to you?
It's not just me. It's one of my other friends that's like, he's a marathon runner, and he has this other woman. He's like, she's been cheating. She's been putting that cat walking on a treadmill. It's some bullshit, man. And I agree with you.
That sounds very personal, Warren. That sounds very personal.
We're skipping to the next topic.
No, because we had a Fitbit on, and if you turn the Fitbit on sensitive enough, you could be sitting there typing away, and all of a sudden you're typing 10,000 steps because that's the way it counts. You've seen it happen.
And on that note,
Warren, I should have won that $200 in the office pool. I should have won it.
And on that note,
poor Warren.
Okay, let's move on. What's the next topic? LG home appliance boss is going to be appointed CEO of LG.
Somebody, the only person successful.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's so wrong, but it's true.
He's handled LG home appliances. LG's home appliance division has been one of their best divisions for the last, I'll say like five years or so. And this might bring some stability to LG as a whole. We've seen the LG mobile division falter this last year, and they're still trying to catch up on LG TV to Samsung. So this might be a good move. Any thoughts on this, guys?
Yeah, LG needs everything they can for a cohesive company vision. It really feels like they're kind of faltering, and moving someone over who can maybe start directing how these units could be coordinating and collaborating better would definitely be a benefit for the company. On a side note, we just bought LG washer and dryer, and they're pretty great. So.
Yeah. My Best Buy days, I used to sell a lot of those with the direct dry. So did you go inside of it and spin it without the power being on, and it lights up on its own because of the magnets?
Well, and just like the load sensing is awesome, and the water measurement tools are awesome, and I've got like a little tap sensor for my phone, which I'm using with an LG V20, so I've got a nice little synergy there. But it was hysterical when we were at Lowe's, and like the person who was helping us like look at all the washers and dryers was like, well, a lot of people are avoiding Samsung right now, so let me start you off with an LG to look at. Holy crap!
It's like, a brief time before I had moved on into the Geek Squad, I worked in appliances for a little while at Best Buy, and I'll tell you, the easiest sell in the world, the best sell in the world, everybody liked to do was LG's washers, because they literally packed in so much technology into those things. It was crazy. Like, it was like their stuff was ahead of a lot of other people's. Like, you would think that type of ingenuity would end up in their other divisions, but it hasn't. Like, they were the first putting TVs and LCDs inside of fridges before anybody else was doing that type of stuff.
Oh, I mean, LG Display Tech. The first time I saw a South Korean vending machine with a completely clear front panel that was also a display, kind of blew my mind. That you didn't like push a little keypad on the side of the vending machine. You just touched on the glass and the thing that you wanted, and then you would tap your phone against it, and then treats would fall. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, you think about all these hoops that we've had to jump through. This sounds like such a first world issue here. You think about all the the design hoops you have to jump through to get someone like, oh, well, what snack do I want? I want B2. Let me pump it full of quarters, and then it drops down and it goes out. And they literally went
caught right there.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
LG also sells the cheapest, most popular air conditioning during the summertime. That's only $50. If you ever bought a Gold Star air conditioner, you technically bought an LG product.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on to the other Korean company. Rumors of Samsung splitting up Samsung Electronics is something that people thought would have been announced this last week. Some reports, from Pocket Now. Don't know that website. Never heard it before, but
they sound like ne'er-do-wells. I don't think I trust anything they have to say.
You can check it out. But this
I don't want anything in my pocket now.
This stems from losses from the Galaxy Note 7, and also
Right.
they've been pushing, investors have been pushing this for a while. But I personally think that they shouldn't even try this at all.
Just like they were pushing the Xbox division to be separate because
Right.
it's a genius idea.
Samsung does a really good job in spending. The reason why I like the way Samsung has grown over the last 10 years is they have a very big general R&D budget that siphons technology throughout all their divisions. And we've seen that with, even though the camera division has closed down, the cameras on the smartphone has still evolved. And they do a really good job at that. So splitting the company or splitting certain divisions out just because some things are profitable, I think it's just a bad idea. They should look at ways to either revamping or trimming down certain divisions and focusing on what works best there. Because even there's talk about them splitting off, going off the PC division entirely, you know, and closing that down instead of saying, look, why don't we make a Surface clone? That really makes sense right now.
Well, didn't they though? I thought they
they didn't.
No,
They have a tablet, just a pure tablet that is run off of.
Gotcha.
It runs well, but it's running off a Core M3 processor.
Yeah, it's like a Core M3 on it. But you know, like, you know, it's always investors. It's always the ones that come up. Like, we want to split this off and split that off, and I always listen. You know, and those are the people that have no idea how technology works, because they have no idea how these companies actually run. So they figure, well, my expertise in other places, and we split things off in different companies, maybe within the retail sector or in the food sector or something like that, makes sense. So we should do it here in the tech sector. It doesn't work that way over there. It does not work. In many cases, the technology sector in most companies is the heart of the company that runs all the other parts of the company in some way, shape, or form. So you're trying to tell Samsung, hey, we know, you know, like, well, they're technically a semiconductor company, I guess is the best way you could put it. They're a semiconductor and a few other damn things company, but but you could sit there and say, well, we want you to split off your electronics that's very successful away from maybe the building business that they do, the printing business that they do, the construction business that they do, because, you know, we feel blah, blah, blah reasons. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense considering they probably, those divisions exist because of the strength that they've had in their technology sector, which allows them to extend things in different ways. It's really easy to sell, you know, someone say, hey, we want you to build this building, this office out for us. And not only do we want you to build it with that, we want Samsung printers and we want Samsung PCs and we want Samsung TVs. And we want everything that you have to offer here in one solution. And it's very easy for them to do that. Why would you split that up? Like, it just, that's the most illogical thing ever. And then they think you can split it up later and they can just work together even though they're split up. It doesn't work that way. It never works that way. When a company is separate, a company is just separate, and trying to make them two work together when they're two different sides or two different companies together just don't work that way.
You know, I think one of the issues that Samsung and a lot of companies face, because I was talking to a rep from a PC company earlier, and I said, you know what? Companies need to look back at the automobile model, which is what Apple uses for their SKUs. You have too many SKUs for certain departments. You just have too many products.
Oh yeah, I agree with that fully.
The PC, especially PC manufacturers. You know, why doesn't Dell have literally? You know, we talked about this a few weeks ago. 3 SKUs. You know, you have.
They're in a bit of a different boat. Why they kind
of. No. I understand, but I'm saying that you can also release a new line that only that line has 3 SKUs. You have the rest, but that gives consumers focus. You know, the problem is, you know, I think Juan was talking about, like, you mentioned the Toshiba laptop, and you mentioned all the numbers at the end just so you identify
so much.
Identify what laptop it is.
I just wanted the one with T-Pain's face on it. That's the only one I care about. I love that commercial when that came out. That was like the greatest thing they should have kept going, was just T-Pain.
So if Samsung is looking at shutting down their PC division, if it's not doing well, this is a great chance to say, let's keep it small, let's keep it simple, and let's have a 3-tier system. 3 series, 5 series, and 7. Done.
Well, that's actually, companies copied the BMW model specifically Intel kind of did that, and you saw that kind of trickle down between
Mhm.
Intel and other companies sort of doing similar things. We came from a position though that customization was the big thing where a lot of these companies grew up. Dell grew big on being able to customize things down, so other companies tried to kind of copy that model, and that's kind of how they saw growth. Now with computers becoming more you don't really need to customize specifically as much as you used to anymore, outside of maybe really color, RAM, processors, few little things here and there. But you can offer series and kind of silo it a lot differently than you could before. I think there is an opportunity to sort of do those things and sort of shrink your product line down some now, considering that there are so many more companies making personal computers. If you go 2004, 2005, maybe even up to about 2008 or so, realistically here in the US, the companies that were making computers were really down to HP and Compaq, who they owned. You had Gateway and Acer, which Acer owned Gateway, and then you had Dell and Sony at that point. Actually, at one time, Sony was there, and that was an Apple, and that's all you had. You didn't have Samsung making a strong push in the US. You didn't have Lenovo making a strong push in the US. You had the IBMs and the ThinkPads, but they were business machines at that time. Toshiba was around back then too, but you didn't have the Apple at the size that it is now when it comes to laptop computing. You didn't have Microsoft making their own computers for the first time. So I think it's such a different landscape now that I think things can be skewed and shrunk down a lot differently. You have, what is it? I think Leeco I think they make laptops and computers as well too at some point. In some other,
I think only just the Chinese market.
I think it's only in the Chinese market. You never know, that could get released here as well too. You remember Vizio was trying to also get themselves into this market as well too, and making PCs. So it's all there and available. But I think everybody's got to get smart in offering series and understanding that they can't try to make something that encompasses everyone. You can't try to make a product and try to get every single person to buy your brand within there. You're just going to have to appeal to a certain brand or not, which is some of the ways Apple has won, because they appeal to a certain audience and a certain price range and a certain niche. And it's worked out well for them. And I think these same companies need to sort of get a similar idea, especially in the product lines that they offer.
All right. Let's move away from Samsung. I know time is kind of running down, but we'll go through a couple of the other news topics. Foxconn exec is facing 10 years in prison for stealing 5,700 iPhones.
Whoa.
How, Sway? How?
I mean, literally, like it's not like a phone fell off the back of a truck. It's like the back of a truck fell off the back of a truck.
According to Asian One, the Taiwanese testing department manager, identified by his family name, Tesai, coerced 8 of his subordinates to smuggle iPhone 5s and iPhone SEs out of the Foxconn Shenzhen plant between 2013 and 2014.
Oh, so not all at once. It wasn't like some great, Ocean's 11 caper.
No,
zip in on like wires and then just lift a giant crate of phones out.
No, it was over.
I was really hoping that's what the story was going to be.
That's a lot of iPhones, man. Still.
Oh, so CyanogenMod's having some struggles as well too, apparently.
Yeah, but before we get to Cyanogen, Spotify is looking to turn a profit next year and also file an IPO. Good idea, bad idea? What do you guys think?
They need cash, so
that's a good idea.
They kind of need to do that. They need cash.
I would agree.
It's not like this. It's not like this is a whole runaway thing, and it's like you are competing against essentially Google and Apple in this space.
Yeah.
They were there first. They had the momentum, but if they're not doing anything to expand on that, then all of these other services are going to eat them for lunch.
Yeah. Plus, if they don't sell now, or if they don't sell or go IPO now, they basically are at this point where they start losing money.
Yeah.
And this is the best way for them to basically, at least cash out of the market.
I would say get your IPO going, or you better go run to Amazon and say, hey, Bias?
Amazon already has its own service.
Yeah, but they'll take
It's
Spotify
launched.
for the name.
Oh, no, they
yeah,
definitely will.
Oh, they'll
or
take
even I
Spotify
think
for the name.
Microsoft would too. Just
That's not
Microsoft is the one. Microsoft is the one I
no,
think would probably go for it.
No.
How did I know
they
you
could
guys were
have
going to
another-
respond?
They could have
viscerally to
another
that one?
Zoom. What's it called? They could have
Research.
another Zoom streaming service.
Yeah,
That
they
would not
do.
be-
It's called Groove, and nobody uses it.
No. Oh, well, okay, so as I said, they could have a Zoom streaming service. No one is talking about
It's
Groove
called
here.
that's called Google Play because they just took the Zune idea and actually did it better.
Yeah,
That's
they
why I
did
pay for
very
it.
well.
Sorry, Juan. No Microsoft.
Oh no, I'm not advocating that. I really just wanted to watch you guys like instantly undie twist just by bringing up Microsoft buying someone like
Squirm.
that.
No,
I got exactly what I wanted.
All right, so we have
it's like
a
them buying
section.
Danger again.
Yeah, we have this section called News Bites
Danger.
because there's a lot of news this week. So just a couple of things I'm going to throw out, just quick thoughts, so we can round up. Amazon is going to allow the addition of HBO and Cinemax in this package. So you get Amazon Prime, and we have Amazon TV. You can also purchase HBO and Cinemax. What do you guys think? Quickly.
Great idea.
Thumbs up.
Value add.
Okay. James Bond fans, Hulu's streaming James Bond this month in 4K, all the Bond movies.
Hulu has movies. Interesting.
Yeah, they have movies.
I'm kidding.
They have movies.
Kidding.
People use Hulu.
Yeah. Now here's one that affects us directly. YouTube has now initiated 4K streaming. Now I'm wondering what level we're on right now because it
Probably
barely does.
720, I think.
It barely does 720 half the time.
4K streaming. What? It went for what? For Hangouts?
No, I think for like any type of YouTube live
Live
streaming situation.
yeah.
I don't think Hangouts rolls in.
Who? Where? Houseway?
I don't know, but
What? You know who asked for that? The NBA. That had to be the NBA because the NBA is streaming 4K.
That makes sense.
The NFL's not doing 4K. And NBA is going to stream a 4K game, I think, this month or at some point. They're going to be the first to actually broadcast in 4K. So
okay.
they're probably the ones that asked for it.
I say makes sense. Plex can now pull content from your online storage and also has an add-on widget for Kodi. So if you're a Kodi user, you can actually have Plex in your Kodi. You can also connect it to all your online storage services like what do you call it again? OneDrive and Google Storage and things like that.
So when is the Netflix and all these other world are going to realize we need to get a Plex? We need to get ourselves in front of that Plex dashboard and get in there quick while it's still open and available, because Plex is continuing to grow and continuing to become a better and better.
Yeah, because
better.
the last couple of months,
and the home theater PC we've been asking for the last 10 years.
I mean, Plex is pretty much now you can turn anything to a Plex server. The NVIDIA Shield. If you have certain D-Link routers, can also be Plex servers for you. You just have to connect a hard drive, and that's pretty much it.
Just everything.
Yeah. So now Plex has pretty much made itself accessible almost everywhere.
The only thing that this is where they should do where Steam failed and actually sell a Plex machine, and actually put it out there. Because I think I think
that would help.
It would be a huge hit for them. They already have enough people that are brand evangelists for them, that if somebody doesn't know what the Plex does, they know a friend that knows what a Plex does and explain to them what Plex does, and will completely be on for them to put up a set and don't pair their set-top box next to the Amazon TVs and those of the world. Put theirs a little bit separate. Get some hard drive space on there. Make it, that media server.
You're right. If you do something where you partner with a hard drive manufacturer and you say, look, this doesn't have to be, it can be hidden. You can throw it in the back of the house for all you care.
And a SUSE of somebody that can just make them a nice, decent, small media home theater PC style device that can just sit on a desktop. It may be more of a premium buy in some cases, but priced in a way that even the Apple user might look at it, and see and compare.
I mean, you can load iTunes. You can stream your. Sorry. use your iTunes service over Plex. So
I mean, really, I think Apple lost some of like that Mac Mini sort of style thing. That's something that they could sell again and tell.
LGA Plex is not hard for the average consumer. Trust me, it is not hard for the average consumer. The way Plex runs now.
No. I think he means you get the most benefit from Plex when you look at a Plex server. The Plex server is not as straightforward.
It's not a straightforward thing. Yeah.
But it's like getting that Mac Mini and slapping a Plex logo on it and saying, here's your Plex device that you can do all these great things on. You can store your content and back it up, but we also give you cloud storage as well too, and cloud backup, and then you can stream and connect your cloud service. It's literally selling a NAS and wrapping it in a different. Yeah,
but I think the problem is once you normalize a service like Plex, there are a lot of questions that a company would not want to be asked, like how do you get most of your content on the device? And we all know the kind of services you have to use in the back end to get stuff onto Plex servers.
Answering that question for a while, though. Because for them, it's not about providing service.
They don't provide anything.
They've never been a
they do is write the software.
So basically, you are a consumer that never heard about Plex. You get Plex. How do you start getting your content on there?
Kodi, you can also add in.
No, you can't say Kodi because Kodi is a very questionable, service.
There are other services there. CW has a Plex widget.
You can get Plex widgets to go in with it.
So I was watching.
I could buy a Roku box that does all this. Why is Plex? Why is Plex a big benefit?
Your own personal content. It's your personal content is the big
thing. But how do I get my personal content onto Plex? It's on my PC, but Plex is all the way over there in this box. How do I do all this?
It's all about software. It's how they present the software.
Right.
As long as you install it and you can transfer it, then that's
right. To Sam's point, I think and I think I get where Sam's coming from. Is right now we're sort of training consumers to understand streaming. I mean, just look at the original Roku and kind of how long it took before that was sort of grandma proof. And now all of the different options we have just to stream content, Chromecast, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, et cetera, et cetera. I think Plex would be very well served because I completely agree with you guys that if they had their own hardware, this would probably take some of the conversation out. I think if Plex were to partner with a company like Drobo, that could be really interesting they are already making a friendly, soft, consumer-grade, soft around the edges way for people to start moving up to bigger network storage. And if they could team up with a company that has that kind of expertise, it would take some of the edge off for consumers looking to set up their own media archiving situation where a lot of that stuff could be passed over to software. You don't have to run it through some kind of janky iTunes style interface. You've got something that's a little bit nicer, a little bit more straightforward, and it's a little bit more seamless in you plug this into your router, something pops up on a computer, and then you can say, hey, do you want to sync this folder that you've got full of videos, and everyone's happy. I don't know that Plex can do that on their own. But I think a strategic partnership would definitely help them.
I see Plex
make that transition.
That's the way it is because you remember Synology made the DS the Synology Beyond One, which was their NAS for the average consumer. All you had to do was literally turn it on, and everything was already set up for you, and you could just drag and drop your folders on Windows. That was it. So. It's not just done a good job software-wise. I think with Plex, they could do something really good.
But I think it's a similar challenge. I mean, like, look at the years that we've been playing with things like really nice routers. For the last 5 years, you've been able to plug a hard drive into a really nice router and use that as network attached storage. And yet I talk about that kind of stuff with people that I know who I think would be interested in it. And they still act like this is something like they've never heard of before. So we do still face some consumer challenges in the idea of how we're managing content. And a lot of people are getting more comfortable with the cloud. But a lot of people are still woefully underprepared for just doing their own local backups beyond, some kind of just, I bought a Western Digital and I'll plug it in and it says backup and everything's fine. We still have I think we still have an uphill battle if we're trying to normalize something like Plex in an era of streaming.
Yeah. Well, our last topic is on CyanogenMod. And I think Sam and I had this discussion with them about them a while back. CyanogenMod, it looks like they are cutting jobs. The Seattle HQ is closing down. There was a time where CyanogenMod was the big thing. This was like around the Galaxy S3, I would say. And they also were working with Samsung. I remember there was a backlash at some point where they started dissing Samsung. You know, there's rumors that Samsung might acquire them, help them smooth out TouchWiz and all that. Now it looks like they're going on the downside because the other bigger customer was going to be OnePlus, and OnePlus even went away from them and started their own skin called Oxygen OS. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, just to quickly summarize so we can wrap up, with the way CyanogenMod has taken itself from being just a bunch of guys on message boards coming together to create, you know, skins for Android 1.2 to get into a size where they could have been a viable competitor in that space to now being at a position where it might disappear altogether.
Not surprised. I'm surprised they haven't died already.
Yeah,
actually, I really am. The CEO had a very poor attitude about this whole thing. I think what wasn't the other one we're gonna like take Android from Google?
Something like that.
Yeah, I forget something. It was like it was going to be an Android kill shot. I forget.
Oh, it equated the same way of saying "make Android great again." It was literally that type of line he said. And as soon as I read that, I was like, "You're done. You don't realize it, but you're done." And and I think that's why OnePlus probably in some ways wanted to like, we need to get away from this because this I don't think is going in the right direction. And I think Cyanogen might have messed something up with them, or something had happened with them between the two, where I think Cyanogen either didn't give an update or something went wrong. And it was like the final straw for OnePlus, and they just made their own thing. It just went completely away from it.
Actually, the thing we actually brought this up on the Pocket Now podcast, and someone schooled us in our live chat where part of the thing that killed OnePlus and Cyanogen was a licensing deal that I think they had in India.
I remember. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So I mean, that was actually like an example of software that could have been great that was just killed by a bad business move. But I think CyanogenMod was just Cyanogen as a company building off of CyanogenMod was just a little too late in that when they were really hot as the mod, Android had real issues that you had to take care of through manufacturer skins or custom interfaces, you know, digging a little deeper than just the launcher. You had to fix some problems or some inadequacies of Android. Over the last couple of years, Google has worked really hard at pulling out all of the features that we like from manufacturer skins. There's a lot less pressure. I mean, you pick up an HTC Now and there's very little of sense left. From the multitasking, from the notification shade, from I mean, the app drawer is one of the things that's the most customized on an HTC Now, and most of the rest of the phone is stock adjacent Android. So Cyanogen would just miss the boat on actually getting their software out. And by the time they did, I think a lot of companies were looking at, hey, we can hire this outside team to give us an OS. And then we still need to keep software engineers in-house to tweak it to fit our hardware, or we could just roll our own. And I think OnePlus was a perfect example of why work with someone outside when we still need to employ developers if we can just roll it all ourselves in-house. And Oxygen OS is an amazing example of that. Do we need to work with someone third party? No, we can do it our damn selves. And so I think that was the final nail in Cyanogen's corporate coffin, is you don't need them. They don't bring you anything that you can't do yourselves.
And I think to add to what you're saying is each of these companies have a message they're trying to get out there, especially with your skins. They have a narrative. When you look at Samsung, by default you can swipe and go straight to your flipbook, or when you look at something like the Echo, and what they're really pushing is all the video consumption. When you look at something like Huawei Mate 9, and you don't have the launcher by default, but you rather have very quick access to specific apps, you get to know. You basically start seeing a trend that these companies have an idea of exactly what their they have an idea of exactly what their message is. So to go out there to a CyanogenMod whose real message is to basically make Android usable for, like you said, for consumers while Android had issues, it's no longer a viable discussion to have. Like, why would you go to CyanogenMod that's outside your organization, that doesn't understand what you're trying to actually achieve, when you can get a developer in-house that understands the messaging and actually provides something from years of knowledge about your company that actually pushes your agenda right when a user opens up their phone? It's a no-brainer.
Well said, Sam. Well said. And on that note, we've come to the end of the show, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And we get to the point where we tell people what we have on the channel and what we can expect next week. Start off with you, Mr. Juan Bagnell. Not you, Warren. Not you.
Ooh. So yeah, Pocket Now, I've wrapped up so many damn phone reviews. We finally got the HTC Bolt out. We got the Mate 9. We finally did our full wrap up on that. I am going to be shooting. I have to reshoot because the Mate 9 got a really great update that is changing a whole bunch of our camera review analysis. So I'm going to be redoing some of our camera coverage on the Mate 9. We have the Lenovo Fab Pro 2 out, talking about augmented reality. And then hopefully next week I can finally start doing my year-end wrap-up stuff. Some of my, I think we're going to do a top 5 camera and top 5 audio phones of the year. And also just, I want to do a sort of a Juan's favorites, just some of my favorite things that have happened over 2016, be they directly related to smartphone tech or just sort of tech in general. So be on the lookout. We've got some fun stuff coming up to wrap up the year.
Okay. Warren?
Oh, so currently I got a couple of streams up for Final Fantasy 15. I didn't think about that for a second. I was like, what game am I?
You're about to say Uncharted, right? You're about to say.
Yeah, I was about to say
Uncharted.
I've been playing Uncharted a lot, and I've been playing The Last of Us a lot. And now I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 15, which is like a game unto its own self. There's so much going on in it.
Final Fantasy 15?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
It's cool. I like it. It's the first Final Fantasy game I've really played on a full scale since 7. So,
is it worth picking up? Because I'm thinking of picking it up too. I haven't played Final Fantasy in a while.
I mean, yeah. So far, I so far.
Let us know, Warren. Let us know.
I'll let you guys know. So far, if I say if you're into the Final Fantasy, you're into that sort of action RPG sort of game, you'll like it. The battle system is still something I'm getting used to because it's not turn-based. It's sort of this, I forgot, it's like a real-time battle system that you got to get used to, not only doing your fight, but then commanding others to do special moves and summons and stuff like that. And it's a little bit different. Like if you hadn't played since 7 and you're jumping into this, it's going to be a completely different thing. You're like, what am I doing? Well, I'm not dying, so that's good. And there's a lot of shortcuts and commands you have to learn, but it's been a fun game. It's only kind of crashed on me once so far, but that's just going to get me into a rant about people sending out broken games, which is every developer not named Nintendo.
All right. Anything, Sam?
No, nothing on the docket for me. So
and stuff.
And stuff.
I will have. I'm a little backed up because I had an injury. So
allegedly.
So I have a game review that I'll be dropping on Monday. I can't tell you, it's on NDA. I can only tell you it's on the Xbox One, so you can figure that one out. But that will be dropping on Monday. I do have the ZTE Axion Mini review to drop next week, and also some more headphones. I don't even know if I'm going to do a year-end wrap-up, man, because I still have a few things I have to finish, and I might just do a live video and just talk about what I like this year and be done, because there's still so much stuff. Companies are still sending stuff out to review. I have a really nice pair of headphones coming in next week. They are on the audiophile pricing and level, but I'm really excited to check this out. So that would be at least one review I would say I definitely will put out next week. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. thanks for everyone joining us in the live chat. I appreciate all your comments there. And you can check out all the channels. You can check out Mr. Juan Bagnell at Some Gadget Guy. That is his Twitter handle. He's part of the Pocket Now network, so check them out at Pocket Now on YouTube. Also, you can check out Mr. Warren Bowman from BW1.com. The Twitter handle is right there on screen for you, BW1.com. Also, his YouTube channel is BW1.com. And Mr. Sam, aka Black Iron _man, whose lower third didn't come up. We know it's probably Hangouts. He is part of the Booredatwork network. Follow him on Twitter. It's Black Iron _man. And myself, Thunder E, Booredatwork on Twitter, Booredatwork on YouTube. Thank you very much, guys, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.